I'm Debbie Lang, a top New Jersey realtor with Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices, Fox and Roach Realtors. I'm available to help you with all your real estate needs in Central New Jersey. Please email me at debthevoiceofrealestate@gmail.com. You can also call me at 609-213-1900. Not looking for a home in New Jersey? I can refer you anywhere in the United States. I'm happy to help you. I'm here for you. Good Sunday morning to you. I hope you're enjoying your July 4th 4-day weekend. This is Debbie Lang, the voice of real estate on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey and 920thejersey.com. It is not too late to buy real estate. The summer market is really hot right now. There's some great inventory out there. So if you're thinking of buying, don't let the 4th of July barbecues hold you back. It's a great time to buy real estate. And it's also a great time to talk about aging in place. And whether you're upscaling or downscaling or thinking about your aging parents and what to do with them, today's show is the one you want to listen to, because all of us have parents somewhere, and we will all get old one day, and we tend to take life for granted. You know, while we are at our peak earning years, earning our money, we worry about family vacations and how to spend our money, whether it be to furnish the home, renovate the home, or to actually go to a better home, a bigger home. But reality will set in. So there are over 80 million baby boomers in the United States today. And us baby boomers are concerned about our traditionalist parents, because if you are over the age of 65, you could be in retirement. And as you get older, things slow down in your body and you lose a lot of the functions that you used to have. You're guaranteed to lose some of your eyesight. You're guaranteed to lose some of your hearing. Things change as you get older. It's a reality. Now, there are a lot of people walking around in their 90s that are driving and feeling great and taking good care of themselves, and they're there. But it's very true. You could lose a lot of the things that you took for granted. I have a wonderful guest in our studio today to discuss some eye-opening things that she became, as a baby boomer, aware of when her dad unfortunately suffered congestive heart failure. And she went from working in the corporate world as an excellent writer, writing training manuals and e-learning manuals, to having to care for her aging parents. I want to welcome to the Voice of Real Estate, Deb Hathaway. She is the founder of Advocate for Mom and Dad. And right now she has a free educational website for anyone who is caring for aging loved ones and can answer your questions of where do you start, what do you do next, and how to sort of get on this healthcare journey, whether it be helping them with their health care, but also about aging in place. Welcome to the Voice of Real Estate.
Oh, Debbie, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity to share with your listeners kind of our journey and everything we've learned over the last couple of years.
It's wonderful that you've learned this, and your website is advocateformomanddad.com, which I think is phenomenal. And let's explain to our listening audience, Deb, what exactly is Advocate for Mom and Dad and how you plan to help families dealing with these issues.
Absolutely. Thank you. So advocateformomanddad.com is a website that I started after I was put in the position of having to care for my mom, who is legally blind with mobility issues. And when Dad was ill and after we lost him and I realized I was going to be responsible for my mother, I would lie in bed at night and think, where do I start? And I just asked everybody, like, okay, so what are you doing? You know, what's going on with your parents? I mean, I'd be in ShopRite and ask people in line. And I kind of said, okay, I can take what this person did here, what this person did here, and put together our program. And I realized in that process that it's overwhelming. It usually happens in a time of crisis. There's a lot of ways you can do things and a lot of decisions that have to be made. And so when I lost my job in the corporate world due to caregiving issues, I decided I wanted to be one of those advocates and people who help you navigate that pathway. So that's really how it came about. And part of it is very personal, our journey, and part of it is like surprising things I learned along the way that I want to be able to share with you. Like, interestingly enough, one of the most read articles is the benefits of medical marijuana, and really what you have to go through to get it in the state of New Jersey, even though it's legal. It's a real hardship on our elders, and they can benefit by it tremendously.
Well, what are the benefits? That's really important, because I think that people in California and Colorado are very familiar with the benefits, but what are your experiences with that?
So really, there's a lot of things about aging that's just chronic pain that will help, medical marijuana can help through. There's a lot of things about losing appetite. A lot of people are going through treatments for things like chemo and nausea, so it helps all of those things. The hard part is in that application process, you have to give certain information, but then along with that, you have to be able to physically get to one of those 5 centers. And if you can't, then you have to designate someone who has to again fill out the paperwork, plus go through a background check. So they make it hard, but it's really hard on seniors who don't have the mobility that younger people might.
Seniors lose their appetite as they get older.
You do.
And that's why they're thinner. They're getting thinner. That's why they make Boost and ensure that you have that sort of thing. And, long-term care is cost prohibitive. It really is. I mean, if you did not have a long-term care insurance plan, if you were just really hand-to-mouth, paycheck to paycheck, just really kind of supporting your life, you had college tuition bills, you had all that, you were just basically enjoying life, you took life for granted, and you didn't really plan ahead for long-term care, it becomes cost prohibitive to go into a facility. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They want to age in place. They want to stay where they are familiar. And one of my past shows, we talked about the trends and what's happening with real estate. And I had a forecaster of the future of real estate, Jeffrey Otto, the owner of the Auto Valuation Group. And he does forecasts that are on national television shows and on CNN and, of course, here on the Voice of Real Estate. And he talked about the return to the European model, being in an area where you could actually very easily just get to the grocery store. And it would be something very simple and very, very easy. You don't have to go a million miles, because especially if you lose your sight and you can't even drive anymore, there's a lot of issues that come up. So let's talk about the ideal situation in terms of where do you think, and what towns do you think, and if you're going to age in place and you don't have the long-term insurance, what are your best options as far as for seniors, do you feel at this point in your experience?
Well, I will tell you that overwhelmingly seniors want to age in place, and that's what we're doing for my mom. And there's a lot of there's a lot of things that you need to think about in terms of financially, how do you make that happen? From a safety perspective, how do you make that happen? From my mom's home is 60 years old. So part of her healthcare costs, as far as I'm concerned, is keeping that house in good shape. And I will also say, in terms of keeping mom in her home, that because she's legally blind, she has learned to compensate so well in her home, and she's so comfortable there, that to ask her to move somewhere else, even if there was the money, is in fact really disorienting to her. Plus, she has a dog. It's a great little dog. She lives for that dog. It barks a lot. Facilities will allow you to bring in a small dog, but A, you have to be able to care for it, so walk it. And B, if they bark a lot, you're going to get kicked out. So, putting mom someplace without her dog is not going to happen.
It's a great point, because a lot of people grow up with pets, cats, dogs, and going into assisted living or into a long-term care facility, you can't bring your pets, and that's really disruptive. Yeah, that's very sad that you can't bring them with you.
It is. I can't say you can't bring them at all. There are kind of rules around it, and if you don't meet the rules, you're not going to be able to bring them. And my mom's Bella would not meet the barking rule.
Oh, I love that name. That's a beautiful name.
Yeah, it really
what
is.
kind of dog is it?
She's a Bichon.
Oh, I love them. They're so beautiful. Yeah. They're so sweet. Little white dog. They're sweet.
They are sweet.
You can stick them in a handbag and take them with you.
Yeah. And you know what? For Mom, that's part of the reason for her to get up in the morning, to make sure she's fed and well cared for. And in their home, we can open up the back door and it's fenced in, so there's not an issue of walking. And she really can care for the dog with modifications, with me making sure she can get to the canned food and it's a place that's accessible for her. And you learn what your loved one needs in their home, and then you set up that home so it becomes a place that they can live comfortably.
What are some of the things you had to do to transform the 60-year home? And now, have they been there 60 years?
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah,
so
they
built this house. So they bought this house brand new. So that's lovely to be able to age in place in the home where you raised your family.
Yeah.
That is beautiful.
Yeah,
it really is.
It really is. It really is. Yeah. My mom and dad were very smart about making some modifications. First of all, it's a ranch. It's only one floor. So that right off the bat is the winning combination. Because you don't have to go upstairs to go to the bathroom. You don't have to upstairs to go to sleep. But early on, they made the wise decision to update their bathroom. So they took out the tub, they put in a walk-in shower with a seat, they put in the handbars, which is what you want to be able to grab onto. And they did some other things, like my dad put a ramp in. He has lights that turn on out front as you move by. So for coming in during dusk, Mom still has, because she can see shadows, she can see the difference in things. When Dad got ill is when I started to do things. Their laundry is downstairs, as was many of the things they needed cleaning products.
Downstairs being the basement.
Yes, downstairs being the basement. When he got ill, we actually wound up having to hire a home care agency that came in and did the light housekeeping, because he did all that along with caring for my mom and going grocery shopping. So we hired someone who would go down and do the laundry, could do all that. I started doing the grocery shopping. What I did was took a hall closet and made it into a pantry. So he didn't have to go downstairs for food stuff. He didn't have to go downstairs for cleaning. I put in lots of, I redid the garage for them, adding information there, and put in a freezer refrigerator so that the overflow that they used, all the stuff, he didn't have to go downstairs. My mom's Italian. So like growing up, there was an extra refrigerator and stove downstairs.
You don't have to be Italian to have an extra refrigerator or freezer in the house.
Right?
A lot of people
and so,
like that.
But he couldn't get down to get it. So I worked it out so that they brought it upstairs. Then little things like, when they bought their kitchen table, the chairs have wheels. So my mother doesn't need a wheelchair. She can roll from the stove to the sink to the refrigerator because she still, with help, cooks. The lighting is huge, making sure both indoors and outdoor that it's a switch that they can reach, but also that it lights their pathway, because as you said earlier, their eyesight starts to go, as you get older.
Things do
and that's
start to go.
Huge.
I'll tell you a funny story. I had perfect 20/20 vision my whole life, and I was at an event, and I was speaking with an ophthalmologist, and he said, "So, what strength glasses do you use for reading now?" I said, "Glasses? Are you kidding me? I've never had a pair of glasses in my life." He says, "Well, you haven't hit 48, have you, yet?" And this was before I was 48. He cursed me because when I turned 48, I needed reading glasses, I swear.
Right?
So it's interesting. So if you're younger than 48 and you don't use glasses, just wait. You're going to need them. You start with the readers from the drugstore like CVS or Rite Aid, and then you start getting prescription ones. And then I guess it gets worse as you get older and you get cataracts and you need the cataract surgery. And technology is fabulous. I mean, it can cure anything these days, almost. Not quite everything, but it's pretty amazing. But even the hearing starts to go. All those rock and rollers from the 60s that listen to loud rock and roll, wait, your hearing's going to change. You may need hearing aids. And it becomes mentally frustrating, especially when, one person was the caregiver or the other person always earned the paycheck and did all the driving. And, somebody, if you had the responsibility of doing all the grocery shopping and you had the responsibility of doing all the driving and, paying all the bills, and then the roles reverse when somebody gets ill also. And then the children have to step up to the plate to help their parents.
Yeah, no, it's true. I think that, the point you made earlier is everybody has parents, and if, with the grace of God and good luck, you'll have them when they're older, and you can anticipate that they will need help. It's interesting. I wrote an article around the holidays that talked about, if you haven't been with your parents for a while, here's the things I want you to observe. One of the statistics that I find fascinating is the single largest reason most people can no longer age in place is they can't use a can opener. The dexterity and the ability to open things like a jar and a can opener, they get weaker and they can't do it, which means they can't cook, which means they're not eating correctly. And so that's a huge marker. So just when you go and observe your parents, it's things like, I want you to watch, don't do for them, help. See if they can open the can. See if they can open a jar.
It's arthritis?
It could be arthritis. It could just be that their muscles are getting weaker. It's a variety of things.
It's inevitable, isn't it?
It is. It's part of the aging process. We're all going to go through it. We really are. So, that particular article really talks about, here's what I want you to observe. I'll give your listeners two terms that I want them to mark down and look up, and I want them to Google. And that is, one is called activities of daily living, and the other is called instruments of daily living. And the first one talks about, can you bathe yourself? Can you dress yourself? The simple things you need to do in your home. The second one speaks more to, what do you have to do? Can you go out and go grocery shopping for yourself? Go to the bank? Can you still handle your bills? If you know what those activities of daily living are, and those instrumental activities of daily living, you can observe every time you see your parents, are they at the same point? I know older elders who, when you watch them, you realize, they're not showering 3 times a week anymore. They're only showering once. That is a decline in an activity of daily living that you want to be able to note. That may mean they may need help. Maybe they can't get in and out of the bathroom and they need help doing that. Maybe they don't have the energy. So knowing what those are, as you are with your aging loved ones and observe them, you will notice if there's a decline, which is your key, they may need help.
And there's also incontinence as well.
Yep. Yeah.
So, and I think that one of the topics is dementia and Alzheimer's, and knowing the difference between the two, or if you're leading down that path, because it only gets worse, it doesn't get better.
Yeah. It's interesting. I collaborated in a series of articles about that topic with a wonderful resource. And when people talk about dementia is really a classic of symptoms. And within dementia falls Alzheimer's, falls vascular dementia, falls Lewy bodies, and a bunch of different things. But we tend to all think about Alzheimer's as being the what everybody has. The thing about Alzheimer's is there are 3 distinct stages. And if you are starting to worry and think about that for an aging loved one, get them tested, because you're closest to them. Don't just slough that off as being old age, because if they're tested, there are drugs that may be able to slow that process down, or you'll know what's going on. I will also say you want to get them tested, because the other thing that can cause symptoms of that is dehydration, a urinary tract infection. There's a lot of drug interaction. There's a lot of medical things that will give symptoms of early stage Alzheimer's, and it may be that or it may be not. So I urge you, get them tested.
And even more important, if they do have dementia, that they're on the decline with that, staying and aging in place is even more important. Moving them is very, very disruptive. I think it's more helpful to have a routine, to know where everything is and how things go. Now, there is Meals on Wheels that can get delivered to your door if you're not driving anymore. Today with Uber, I think it's fantastic. If you can't drive anymore, especially if your eyesight is gone, and that does happen where even, I guess you can't see. You need that light, because as you get older, the refraction in your eyesight does change. I've noticed that even in my age, in my 50s, that I need more light to see clearer without my glasses. I still am doing that, reading glasses from the drugstore as well as prescription reading glasses, but I can see distance, thank God. So I don't really need those glasses all the time. I'm not used to them. But I noticed that if you don't have enough light, it's very difficult. So one of the biggest problems, I think, for seniors, this is the biggest killer of all things. It's not heart attacks. It's not cancer. It is falling. They
Yes.
fall. They trip over things. They forgot that they put their pocketbook down on the floor and they trip over that, or things are not in the same place that they used to be. It's the balance, losing their balance and falling. And then it's a spiral downward after you fall.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I would agree with that 100%. You know, mom's a fall risk because of her mobility issues. So we got her one of those pendants that she can.
I fall and I can't get up.
Use. Yeah, she can. I will say, you know, we were talking a little bit about home things. I'm going to go back to that for a second and then talk about falling again. So one of the things I discovered when I became mom caregiver, and you know, this is the reality. She was having a hard time getting up off of the toilet, right? So one of the things I did is I put in a new toilet, which is ADA, the American Disability Act approved. And they're interesting. Like they come in like size 18 and 19, and then they're 16 and a half. So I made my mom sit on a chair, and it was 17 inches tall. And I knew if I got her the toilet that was 18 or 19, her feet would dangle. So I went into one of the like Home Depot or Lowe's and bought her a 16 and a half inch toilet, which with the seat goes to 17. And that's enough at the grab bars that she feels very comfortable. The other thing that I did is they have carpet in their home, and there are 2 steps down into the den to see TV. All I did was put 2 strips of tape. And I'm very careful that she's not pushing, you know, they're not coming up. But when she looks down, having those tapes mark the step make all the difference in the world. So back to the idea of incontinence and falling. So mom knows I talk about this. She has a commode in her bedroom, so she has to get up in the middle of the night and use the bathroom and down the hallway. I'm her caregiver. I'm sound asleep. And the medic alert goes off because getting back into bed, she has slid. Now, it was a controlled fall. She didn't hurt herself, thank God, but I never heard her calling me. Had to get the EMTs in to help her because I couldn't get her up. So do that. What she didn't tell me is that the space in front of her bed, the carpet had become like glass from all the years of getting in and out of there. So I took one of those bathroom rugs you put around the toilet that has backing, put that there, put another backing on it that she would use underneath a rug, and she can grip, and we're done. But that idea of falling, that you're absolutely right about, it is a downward spiral. They oftentimes break a hip and they wind up in assisted living, and there are complications from all of that. So, you know, the idea of in your home, making sure that you have grab bars, making sure that you pick up those rugs that move, you know, making sure that they can see the depth perception. All of that is critical in setting up a home if you're going to age in place.
And I've had interior designers on the show that can decorate for aging in place. Like, for example, I thought this was the best thing, and they have it in some facilities too, in the hallways, which I think is great. It doubles as a decorative chair rail, a beautiful piece of wood. It looks like it's a little shelf for little knickknacks, but technically it really is a handrail.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That's beautiful. So if you don't put anything on it and use it as a shelf, it works as a chair rail, and it really doubles as a handrail. And that is really key, and that's really helpful for anybody who's legally blind or just to have help when there's balance, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
And you know what's interesting? We just take our health for granted, and we take so much for granted. I had major foot surgery a number of years ago, so I experienced this. So I know what it's like to be hopping around on one foot and not have that mobility. And they even make these potty seats with handles and handlebars, and you could put it right over the commode. And that's helpful because they need that. They need that help for balance. So if you can decorate so it's not so obtrusive, so it looks good, that's really, really key, because I think more people today want to age in place if they can. It's really ideal. Or, you know, a lot of families are taking in their elders and they're converting their garage into a first floor master suite for their parents to age in place, or they're converting other spaces in their home. And I've seen contractors come in with some great ideas because traditionally a great room is sufficient. Everybody congregates in the family room and in the kitchen. It's the heart of the home. So you don't really need your living room anymore. And a lot of times the living room might be next to a powder room where you could very easily add a shower because the laundry room is right behind it. I'm thinking of a colonial home where you have up and down or a split sometimes. It's very nice if you can do that. And I don't know why it is, even for the most mobile 90-year-olds out there, they don't like steps. They really don't like steps.
Well, I think it's a depth perception thing it's scary for them. And it's scary for me, the thought of going up and down steps, for someone 90 years old. But I love what you've said about converting. I think you can do this. You don't have to do it super expensively. I think you can. I think one of the benefits of aging in place, and especially the situation where you're able to convert something, is one of the hardest parts about growing older. And I've had this conversation with multiple people, is that sense of isolation, that sense of I'm the last one left. My mom has said to me, and other people said to me, I just don't want to be the last one. You've lost the people who know your history. You lost the people who know your lives. You don't, they knew what songs you grew up with. And that's very hard for them, and it's very isolating as well. So the ability to, age in place where you're comfortable, where you know the neighbors and they'll come and help, like my mom's neighbors are fabulous. The ability, to move in with someone, all of that keeps them healthy, keeps them strong, both mentally and physically.
No, I understand that because depression also can be an issue
Big.
if they're isolated. And the Meals on Wheels program, from what I understand, is that they want to see them there when they deliver it. They don't want to just deliver it. Let's say if you're in an apartment building, they don't want to just deliver it to the front desk. If there's a front desk there, they want to make sure you're okay. That's part of the program.
Absolutely.
When they deliver the meals. And that's a nice thing because you do become forgetful. Whether you have dementia or not, people become forgetful. You leave things on the stove, and that's dangerous too.
Yeah, it is. Oh, it is. Yeah. My mom's got live-in care when I'm not caring for her, and that's one of the things we're always watching. Has the coffee pot been turned off? Has she turned off the stove if she's going to make herself breakfast and stuff like that? Yeah.
Yeah, so this is just great, Deb. I'm so happy that you're doing this. I know Joan London really got involved with a place for mom, but we're looking for a place at home for mom to make that a safe and wonderful environment. So with that being said, thank you for coming on The Voice of Real Estate.
Thank you for having me. This was fabulous.
Just great subject. Last week we talked about active adult communities being 55 and over. Today we're talking about our traditionalist parents and taking care of them so they can live a longer, healthier life, a happy life. And that's what life is all about. It's about making memories. And that is what July 4th is, to celebrate this beautiful country that we live in and celebrate your elders, celebrate your family, and think about them. And thank you for being on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening. I am Debbie Lang, the voice of real estate, right here on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey and 920thejersey.com, enlightening you and informing you on all kinds of great topics as it relates to real estate. Go out and make it a wonderful holiday weekend. I'll see you next week at 9. I'm Debbie Lang, a top New Jersey realtor with Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices, Fox and Roach Realtors. As a 5-star award-winning professional for over 25 years, I can help you with all your real estate needs. Whether you need to sell your home or want to buy a home, call me to find out why now may be the right time to make a move. My number is 609-213-1900, or you can email me at